Hello, Nodies, and welcome to the next Node Career Chat. I am Anusha, and our presenter today is Mr. Shubhankar Sumar, Principal Architect and Head Technology Consulting, Infosys Limited UK for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Shubhankar has extensive experience in developing strategies and solutions for business that leverages innovative technologies to achieve sustainable and competitive advantage. Nodis, before I ask Shubhankar to say something about himself and his company, I would like to ask you to take note of the chat box which appears on the screen. Do type in any questions you may have for Shubhankar, and he will answer them at the end of his presentation. Shubhankar, can you briefly tell us something about yourself and your company?
Sure. Thank you, Anusha. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, however you are nowadays. My name is Shubhankar. Um, I work for Infosys Technologies Limited in London, UK. I'm a principal architect and head of consulting for Infosys in EMEA. I, as a part of my job, as Anusha mentioned briefly, I I play multiple roles actually as a part of Infosys, where I go and talk to customers, the big organization like HSBC, Vodafone, T-Mobile, across the sectors, and define their technology roadmap within the organization over the next 5 to 7 years, sometimes 3 years. But fundamentally, we help the organization to lay out their technology roadmap forward. I'm also involved in design and architecting the mission critical systems, like, for example, the banking system, the ATM you typically use for your daily users, or you go and do the shopping, any shop or the retail or any other shop. I'm also I also represent Infosys to have a CIO, CTO level conversation where the organization would like to bring in new technologies or improve their efficiencies in terms of cost cutting or bringing in the future generation technologies. So that's pretty much my role as within Infosys. As you would see, I also participate in different other role outside Infosys. I'm a co-founder of a healthcare organization. This is basically healthcare IT provider based in India. I'm an independent board of directors for one of the housing corporation in UK. They're one of the top 10 within UK. I'm a strategic advisor for a few Indian startups. Of course, I do work most of the time remotely. And I'm also a social worker promoting the minorities within UK, specifically in London. That's in a nutshell who am I.
So, would you tell us something about your company?
Sure. So, Infosys as an organization, primarily focusing on IT services part of the world. So we call system integrators, and along with other organizations across the globe. So Infosys is the second largest Indian IT system integrator. We work across the world, pretty much 100 plus countries, and we have offices across 54 different countries globally. Infosys as a company is a $8 billion company, and out of that, 65% comes from US, and around 22% come from EMEA, and the rest of the revenue comes from rest of the world, including Asia Pac and Japan, that part. Our primary services is to do software development for the organization, like as I mentioned, HSBC or Vodafone or Verizon or Walmart or for that matter Apple. They are our prime customers. our competitors, as you see in this the slide, TCS, one of the global IT companies based in India, they're the #1 in India. Then apart from that, we have Accenture, Capgemini, IBM, Wipro. I'm sure you have heard some of those names, or may not have, depending on how you're exposed to the IT part of the world.
Thank you. Now, Shubhankar, could you tell us something about the global IT scenario?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, I think all of you are aware that how technology is shaping up the whole world. The way we communicate, the way we move around things, the way we interact between us, or the way we manage our home in the current world. So everywhere Infosys or similar organization or a technology provider like Apple, Microsoft, or IBM for that matter is playing their parts. And the technology is slowly taking over the way we communicate or we behave in our daily life. So the whole IT industry is huge, as you can see, right? And we grow typically between 2 to 4% in that range in terms of IT spend by the global by all the companies in the world. So in 2015, we're expecting growth of 2.4%. That's a moderate number in terms of percentage. But if you see the overall spend is 3.8 trillion dollar. That's a huge amount. And by 2018, that number is going to grow up to 4.1 trillion dollar. So that is across the sector. So whether it's a healthcare, whether it's a banking or a retail or manufacturing, everywhere all put together, that is the spend. And from the so that amount is basically being shared across the technology vendors or the system integrators. So if you see on the slide, there are technology product players who their main focus is to the innovation. Like you're all aware of Apple. They started in terms of the whole iPod and then the iPhone and the smartphones of the world, and then everybody else joined the bandwagon. Similarly, IBM, they are the pioneer in terms of computing. Then you talk about Sony, you talk about Dell. They are good in their own area of expertise, but they focus the technology. While on the right side of the screen, is a system integrators, where we use those technologies to deliver end consumer products in terms of whether it's a banking application, whether it's a website, whether it's a website like Amazon.com, or it's a website like eBay.com. So these two set of players, system integrators and technology product players, they join hands and then deliver and try to take that pie of those 4.1 trillion of 2018. If I move to the next slide, I just wanted to give a quick view around the technology and how it is changing the way the consumer part of the world particularly. So consumer digital is a big. So out of those spend, most of the organizations who are taking to the going to the next generation of technology, they're making sure how do they engage the end consumer like yourself, myself, or anybody on the road for that matter. Not necessarily specifically focus on a very small minority of the population. So, for example, one of the changes in the trend which is coming is like pay as you go in insurance. What we used to do earlier is we used to pay fixed amount of insurance premium every year for your car, irrespective of whether you drive or not. But what insurance companies are using technologies to see whether you can pay less if you drive less. If you drive more, you pay more. So it's basically it's a win-win situation for both the organization as well as end consumer like us. Similarly, your automated home through the smart meters. One of the interesting things you must have followed in the recent time is the drone-based delivery. Amazon was trying to deliver your order within the city within few hours, or sometime within 30 minutes of your order, using the technologies, which is drone. Similarly, location-based services. You must have noticed in some cases within when you go for a shopping in the shopping mall, you probably get SMS saying, "Okay, you are nearby to this shop. Why don't you check out the offer from that shop at this point of time available?" And you might be interested to go to the shop and explore that discount, heavy discount you are being given. So that is LBS. We call it location-based services. So a lot of this organization within the especially within the retail industry is leveraging some of these technologies to go to the next generation and try to engage more and more customers to increase their sale or increase their profit, for that matter, just by leveraging these different technologies. And as you see, we are all connected digitals. In 10 years back or 15 years back, we wouldn't have thought of speaking like this and sitting everybody in the different part of the world, and all because of technologies. And there, and of course the telecom, the one of the mentioned thing I mentioned is telecom is a part of the consumer digital part. And we all use Facebook, has become a part of everybody's life, I guess. Facebook, WhatsApp, to some extent. Again, that is the consumer digitization, and those companies are using those media's channels, medias and channels to promote their products to those consumers. Like, for example, if people use this Facebook to promote their products, there are 1.11 billion people who are using Facebook, at least the registered users. So what I wanted to highlight to you folks is consumer digital within the technology is taking a big focus, and people, the organizations like the technology product companies are continue to invest on that part to make sure our lives becomes much more connected and we are more informed, which is important. The more informed is very important to take you to make it to help you to make decisions which will help you in your career or outside in your social life or family life, everywhere. The more you inform, the better decisions you would be able to take going forward.
Very enlightening, Shubhankar. Now, can you help our Nodis understand themselves and where they start for a career in this industry?
Yes. Yeah, that's I think everybody would have that question in the mind. In fact, when I started my career, I was also kind of puzzled and saying, okay, where do I start? Should I go into IT? Should I go into manufacturing? I used to like aeroplanes, for example. So should I become should I get into aeronautic field? Anyway, so you have a lot of skills of yourself. You have a lot of goals in your mind you want to achieve in your life. You have interest. You have the fundamental basic foundation is education within you, and you have very special talent. Everybody as such will have a specific set of talent, and of course there are a lot of inherent values and a set of trend you would like to follow in your life. So what do you start when you have so many things in you, right? How do you make sure you are actually picking the right path based on your skills, your talent, your education, and your interest, and what you eventually become in, let's say, 10 years or 15 years down the line? Do you want to become aeronautics, astronauts, or you want to become an IT head of an IT company, or you want to run an educational institute, right? The head of the educational institute. So there are a lot of questions. So my next slide talks about that. So what do you want to do? You like so many things, and you want to you keep changing your mind, or you think you can do a lot of things. So you have no idea where to start from, right? What are the things you want to do to get you to your goals? So what I wanted to tell you, so given the fact I spent all my life in the last 19 plus years after my college in IT, So I take a very um, biased path at this point of time, or say I'll take you towards the IT side and tell you what are the possible career options you have within IT and what do you need to get to that level, right? Because a lot of you probably eventually will not have enough interest within the IT, or you don't like technologies, but you would like to use, let's say, the games within IT, with the games, or the, let's say, or you want to chat, or you want to play around within your iPad or a phone, a smartphone. So you don't need to be techie to do that. So, but within the IT, you don't need to be always technologist to be within the IT industry. You can become a non-technologist, but be still within the IT and very closely involved what's going on within IT. And there are hundreds of thousands of people who are closely working within the IT, but not necessarily knowing anything about IT or the technology or the coding, the programming languages we talk about, right? So, um, so that's pretty much the view. So you don't need to worry at this point of time. Just realize that there are ample opportunities within the industry, depending on what you want to achieve, right? So just pick up your interest, your strength, core strength, and try to stick around that and see how it is working, and then you move on and see how it is going on. Then you can decide probably in few years time and take a change in your career path, or if you want to stick around with the same.
That information should be very useful for our Nodis out there. Now, Shubhankar, what are the career opportunities available for fresh graduates?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like you might be confused, but at the same time, there are a lot of opportunities within the different organization. Even if you talk about IT, so as I mentioned earlier, IT has got two distinct set of companies. One is product companies, other one is system integrators, what I belong to. I spend most of my time within system integrator, except a few years when I worked in Sun Microsystems, who are the pioneer of Java. A lot of you might be knowing the Java language and the Sun Solaris systems, etc. I spent few years there. But fundamentally, if you are looking at a career within IT, as I mentioned, you don't need to be technologist. So the left part of the screen is for those who doesn't want to be a technologist but still want to be very closely involved with the IT. So you can become expert within a domain, for example, banking or trading within the banking, or retail banking as a domain. So you can, or a telecom, you want to become, so how the whole telecom industry works. When you call someone from a mobile, what happens within that, right? So you can become a domain expert. You can become a business architect. So essentially, you can talk to the domain people, and at the end, you can interact with the IT people, so that IT people understand what is expected out of IT at the end as a product, technology product. You can work as a product specialist in a product company. Like, for example, if you want to work for Apple, you can also become a product specialist within the Apple. Not necessarily become, so you can design a product in terms of how it look, how the user should use the product, what they should touch, what should happen, without knowing the technology. So you become a creative designer or a product specialist, what features should go in the product, or you can simply become a business tester, right? So once the product is designed, there's somebody need to test it. So to become a tester, you don't need to be a tester. You just need to know that business or that product, what is supposed to be doing at the end. So that's pretty much a non-technical part of the career focus you have. Then if you look at the technology side of the career, so you can become a technical architect when you grow up. You can start your career as a software developer. So let's say you know Java, or you know C, C++, you know Microsoft, .NET, or C#, anything. So you can always look at a career option that as a software developer. You can become a technical tester. You like technology, but you don't want to write code, but you are very good at finding faults in others' program, right? So you can become a technical tester. So you can go inside the code, but say guys, look, there's a bug here or there's a problem there, but you don't like to fix it, but you always like finding faults in others, right? So that is not wrong as a character, as a talent. So so that is the your talent which will come in technical testing. And then the product manager in a product company. Again, the product manager is responsible for delivering a technology product, and they will decide what capability, what functionality within the product which goes in. He doesn't need to be too techy, but very high level. If you call it a 50,000 feet or 100,000 feet level, he should know, okay, this part need to be written in Java, that part need to be written in C++, this should communicate with the another system in the other side of the world, that part at very high level, but not necessarily how do you write code, how do you write the interfaces, etc., etc. And then if you think you are very good in people management or personal interaction with the people who lie, and you think you can lead a bunch of people or set up a small team, then project manager, program management part could be another interesting career opportunity for you, right? So in a nutshell, if you are in IT, don't worry about the technology. You have different roles within the IT where you can flex your ideas, put your thoughts, and you can move around those. One of the things I did not mention in the slide pack, you can also become a salesperson within IT, right? You can become a sales manager or a sales head. You can start your career as a sales within sales, let's say sales manager within IT. Again, you don't need to know the technology. You just need to know the trend and what services your company is selling. That's it, right? So if you think you are good in negotiating and providing impromptu ideas or providing thoughts to the end customer, then that could be another potential very good opportunity for you as a career. So
Thank you.
that's pretty much in a career opportunities.
Thank you. Very enlightening again. Now, what are some of the skills one needs to be successful in the industry?
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the most important part of your career. Whatever talent, whatever educations, whatever intelligence you have, I would say, but I mentioned 5 of them in the slide, but these are the most important part of your successful career. Communication, right? If you are a good communicator, even though you know less, you should be able to manage the audience or manage your conversation with that minimum knowledge. But if you're super intelligent but you communicate really bad, it's going to be difficult to move up, right? You possibly stuck in the same place for longer duration, as opposed to your peer who has got a good communication but moderate skill. Adaptability, this is very important in the global world today. We no longer work within our own organization, within one office. We move across the world, across different cities, countries, and we communicate to different community, different people who are from different background, different language, they understand. So when you move from different places, even within, for example, my company, Infosys, I work sometime in India, I work sometime in London, sometime I go to France, sometime I am in Switzerland, sometime in Italy. So I need to make sure I adapt to the culture, I understand what people are trying to tell, and their little bit of their culture, right? What is good in their culture, what is bad in their culture. So adaptation is important. Continuous learning is another, especially in this world. If you don't read or if you don't learn new things, you will feel yourself outdated in few months' time, especially within the IT world, when the innovation is happening pretty much every other day, right? So continuous learning, whichever field you choose, don't leave the book or don't leave that community of learning in your network. Discipline, again, I think irrespective of which career path you choose to go with, discipline is fundamental to your personality and how people will perceive you. Without discipline, I don't think you would be able to deliver anything, or you would be able to deliver something, but not necessarily right quality and right um, uh, product. And the last, but not the least, is a team player. You uh, will be able to successful at the probably in the initial part of the career, but when you as you grow, you need to interact with more and more people. You need to manage people. Sometimes it is hundreds of people you will be managing, of course not directly but indirectly. So unless you have that attitude to interact with the team, listen to the team, be part of the team, it would be again a challenge. So there are a lot of industry leaders who have failed to move to the top ladder, even though they have good communication, good adaptability, discipline, and they're learning all the time, but just because they are not been a team player, they are not been able to sustain that growth and reach to the top. So I put only 5, but not necessarily this 5, but I thought, based on my experience, these are the top 5 things which would take you to the next level, right? And all of them are important. Not necessarily you can leave one without the other.
Thank you, Shubhankar. Nodis, you should certainly take note of those key tenets of a successful career. Now, Shubhankar, my final question to you. Can you share with us your thoughts on the road ahead in technology?
Yeah, so that's interesting and that's fascinating actually. How you see the world is going to be changed by the technology. So if I look back 10 years, I couldn't have imagined there would be something where I can translate my voice into 10 different languages today, right, as we speak in a real time. Or I would be able to have a video chat with someone, my friend, the other part of the world. Those have become reality today. But what next? What is remaining then, right? So if you see, the world is getting more and more connected, and more people are more informed. But there are few things which are investment. The technology companies are investing a big is like they're trying to understand human being, right? Who are you? So today we would say, I don't know what I'm thinking, right? So one of my point in the slide is neurohacking. So people are technology is trying to hack your brain. So what you are thinking, so that people can understand ahead of time, okay, Shubhankar is going to do in next 5 minutes time, this is the thing he's going to do it, right? So let's stop that if he's trying to do something bad, for example, right? Second thing is, I think the top bottom right corner is bottom right corner, not the top, bottom right corner. There are a couple of gadgets, which is basically saying today the data will flow across the world. We need to make sense of that data. So today, when you speak over phone, the other person need to know the same language, same gestures, same everything need to know. But tomorrow, when, as I was mentioned briefly, the translator, right? So I speak in English, it might get translated in 20 different languages in real time. There are some beta testing happening as we speak. It's not in a commercial, but you will see in the next few years people will be speaking any language, and that gets translated to multiple 20, 30 other different languages instantaneously. So you don't need the interpreter anymore. Then the data in the middle. Data is life, right? Without data, we don't survive. So what the technologists are doing, given the fact that your hardware has become cheaper and cheaper, people are trying to manipulate or make intelligence out of data. So further is how the healthcare industry is moving, how the next generation look like based on your heredity or your family history. So all those data are being manipulated, are being dissected in different way. So you will probably see people in next 10 years time probably would say, this particular family, because of the history, of their different diseases or their food pattern or habit, they have the 90% chance of having the cancer, for example. Not the right example, but they would be able to predict it. I think so. That is important. How are they going to predict it? Because of data. Because today we are capturing so much of data of every individual, right? So, for example, if you go to Google and you continue to use Google for the next 10 years, Google will potentially be able to draw your, give you, without meeting you, would be able to tell who are you, what is your characteristics, what do you live, what do you do, right? Again, through the data, because you went to Google multiple times, you search for different things, and your Google is reading your emails as well if you use Gmail. So it's all about data. So data is going to be key as we move forward. That's, I think that I have too many things to talk. The tens of thousands of things which people are talking about in technology, but I'd at this point of time take a pause and say thank you for all your time and good luck. Whichever career you choose to go with, and I'm sure you'll excel. Be Nodis, or when you come outside Nod career and take your career to the real world, and you'll succeed rather. And good luck with that.
Thank you, Shubhankar, for a very informative and inspiring presentation. We have some questions for you that have appeared in the chat box. Now, the first question is, as a business student, what career opportunities could I be involved in the IT sector?
Okay. So if you're a business student, I'm assuming you are doing an MBA or non-technology stream you have chosen as your career. So within the IT, as I mentioned briefly, you have ample opportunities to excel. For example, if you are outgoing, very extrovert, you could choose to become a sales, pick up the role of sales manager, for example, or you could, if you think within the business you also like some of the domain you want to work in, you could choose to be a business SMEs, that is a subject matter expert, SME. So you need to choose. So depending on your interest, you still have a lot of opportunities as a sales or business development manager, or a domain expert as a expertise, depending on your interest.
Thank you. Our next question.
Yeah.
What if one decides on a certain career in the digital sector and then finds that becomes very difficult at a certain stage? Right. What is one supposed to do?
Okay. Good questions. Good question. My experience says, see, as I mentioned, like at this point of time, when you start your career, you'll be confused and you'll probably take up the job whichever you get fast. So it's not the end of the story, end of your career. You can always change your career, provided you have the right attitude and you have the basic skills of that job. I've seen within my organization who has started their career as a developer or a pure play developer or coder. They have moved to HR, which is HRD, human resource department. They didn't like it, and then they moved to the sales and marketing, and they have excelled in every part of their career. So there is absolutely no problem in moving from your digital career. If I call it digital, I assume you meant IT career. You can always come out of IT and leverage that, in fact, better to go to the next career move if you want.
Thank you. The next question, and I think you've partly answered this. What are some of the countries we can work in?
There's no bar in that, right? So world is flat. It's all about this country is good or that country is better, that country is best. It's all about what you want, which organization you want, is the focus area. But as an choice, matter of choice, it doesn't matter, right? As long as you are happy what you're doing and it is helping your career to take to the next level, it would be all right. Whether it's Europe, Asia, Africa, or Americas or South Americas, doesn't matter. All are well connected. So the bottom line is you are always connected in today's world. You don't miss other part of the world ever.
So really, yeah, the whole world is open for jobs, right?
That's right.
Okay, another question. What does it take to be a good consultant? Somebody's already looking ahead.
Okay, that's interesting one. Okay, so to be a good consultant, which I feel I'm able to sustain that over the last few years, you need to be a good communicator. First of all, consultant without a good communicator will not be sold. When I say will not be sold, means you will not be able to represent your organization and sell something to your customer, right? You need to be a very good communicator. Second thing, you need to understand the pain of the customer. What is the customer's problem? It means you need to listen. Again, it comes part of the communication, right? So you can go with a solution saying, my company provides only this solution. But if you realize after talking to your customer, no, that is actually not good fit for the customer. It will be too expensive or it may take too long to implement for the customer. So your job is to listen to the customer and provide an alternative solution at this point of time, which would be win-win for both you as in your company and the customer, right? So you continue to do business with the customer, engage customer, at the same time customer is also happy. I think that is the key ingredients of being a good consultant.
Thank you, Shubhankar. Now, there are a few other questions, but I think some of them have already been answered in your presentation. So we will end now. Now,
Sure.
Thank you really very much, Shubhankar, for sharing with our Nodis on the global technology scenario and what is required of aspiring graduates to be successful and grow in that industry. Nodis, tune in to the next career chat which will be on next week. Do take note that the Node Career Chats will be available in Node's YouTube channel for you to review. Thank you everyone for participation.